is a live presentation of CBC Sports.
It is a renowned prize, a Governor General's legacy to a unique game for champions of the Canadian Football League. This weekend, two countries share the quest for supremacy. The Southern challengers are back, and this time they don't plan to go home empty-handed. The Northern Cup defenders wear red and white, winners 3 years ago. They're ready to step up once again to make sure the Grey Cup remains here in Canada. And you know, it's fitting that the season culminates in the heartland, reaching fruition here in the prairies, where hard work and family values intertwine. Enter once more Baltimore's Big Bad Blue.
We'll see you in Regina, Baltimore. We're going. We'll see you there.
Yes, the Stallions return with the know-how to win. A horse of a different color, the Stampeders feel they've earned their shot. And they arrived in true Western style, feeling right at home, clearly the fan favorites. Yes, it's time to rock Regina with a good old-fashioned Grey Cup party. Hey folks, nothing like traveling in style. And you travel in style to huddle up right here in balmy Saskatchewan. Who said the Grey Cup shouldn't come to Saskatchewan? A magnificent Saturday afternoon on the prairies, bright, warm sunshine, officially +2 here at the stadium. It's about +6 downtown as we come from the helicopter into the northeast corner. We'll keep coming down. There is our booth, our host location for the 95 Grey Cup. Baltimore Stallions and the Calgary Stampeders will officially kick it off at 5:32 Eastern tomorrow afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Williams. Welcome to Taylor Field, Regina, Sport Check Grey Cup Saturday. Our coverage beginning for this 95 Grey Cup. Now, in just a minute, we'll be joining Mark Lee and Holly Preston for live coverage of the parade. The Grey Cup parade is back. Let me tell you something. I came out here about 3 hours ago. Already at that time, noon here in Regina, people were lining the streets 5, 6 deep. The floats were coming in from the suburbs. It should be a tremendous show. Now, in our second hour this afternoon, let's show you the menu. Passion on the Prairies is not a soap opera. It is a look at Saskatchewan's legendary and pervasive football spirit. Jim Spiros, a perspective from the boss of the most successful, what do you mean the most successful? The only successful American franchise. And here's one of my great and one of my favorite features. I really like this. 9 lives of the Canadian Football League. It is done to the theme The Cat Comes Back. At this time of the year, it seems the poor old CFL is lurching from one crisis to another, but it always comes up with a great Grey Cup game and comes back, and I have a feeling that it will come back stronger than ever following this game here tomorrow. The parade is coming up in just a minute, but right now, Jim Nielsen, can we move just a bit and zero in up behind me in the grandstands? You see that light that's in the play-by-play booth where Don Whitman and will work tomorrow afternoon with Dan Kepley, and standing by right now, James Curry and Scott Oak. Scott?
All right, Brian, many people aren't surprised in the least with the reception Grey Cup has received in Saskatchewan. One of them is James Curry. At the 3 best years of his football life as a member of the Riders. James, did you take this reception for granted?
No, I didn't. I think that the CFL and the Canadian Football League was well overdue in coming to Saskatchewan. The fans here really appreciate everyone coming out, and they put their best foot forward.
Time was football coaches around the league would try and motivate slumping players by saying, you keep it up and your area code is going to be 306, which is, of course, the area code for Saskatchewan. But you spend a week in Regina, as many are, and you see true Saskatchewan hospitality. There's nothing like it. Football players are godlike out here. They're still asking you for your autograph.
And I was even shocked about that. But I guess the men who have wore green and white during their CFL career have never been forgotten. But I think this is going to be a very memorable event, a very memorable game for the CFL and everyone.
James, the weather. It's gorgeous here today, as Brian has said. Even if it isn't tomorrow, though, you don't think it's going to affect the game?
I don't think the weather would be a determining factor in the game. I think it's going to be mental. When it comes out to the players on the field, they're really going to dictate what occurs tomorrow. All
right, James, we'll check in with you again today. Brian, back to you right now.
All right, Scott, Don Whitman, and Dan Kepley will call the game tomorrow afternoon. During the show today and again tomorrow, we're going to spotlight some of the activities that have made this the best Grey Cup week in many, many years. The Sport Check Event Pass saluting Grey Cup 95 here in Regina, and here is our first of the afternoon.
A Canadian tradition. The Calgary Stampeders, the Baltimore Stallions. Who will take home the cup? Coverage begins Sunday at 4 Eastern. It's the Grey Cup, and it's only on CBC Sports.
What a great parade. There's a view of Regina, and it's very, very warm down on 12th Avenue today, Mark. What a great parade. Saskatchewan can be very proud of the show that they put on today.
I've never seen a Grey Cup parade like this. I've never seen people lined 10 to 12 deep along the streets here of Regina. What a wonderful rekindling of the Grey Cup parade back after a 3-year absence in Grey Cup week.
It's been great working with you, Mark, and we hope that Brian has a wonderful time while he's here too. Back to Brian.
All right, thank you, Mark and Holly. Before we let you go, as the parade completely wound down, I see behind you some floats still moving down the street.
Brian, this parade will go on for probably another hour through 12th Avenue and through the downtown core here in Regina. And the enthusiasm is the same as it was an hour ago when it started. In fact, as it was 2 hours ago when people were just lining up. And as I said earlier, if you didn't get a good spot 2 hours ago, you didn't get a good sight line here.
That's right. The party's going to continue as well. It's been lots of fun.
All right, Brian, back to you at Countdown Control.
All right, thanks to Mark Lee and to Holly Preston. The Grey Cup Parade returns for the first time since 1991. Straight ahead, we're going to take a look at the football side of the 1995 Grey Cup. We'll take a look at the Baltimore Stallions, the Calgary Stampeders, Dan Kepley with Kepley's Keys, the great George Reed just sitting behind the camera waving to me here. He'll talk about football on the prairies. We will talk about the future of the Canadian Football League. This is Grey Cup 95 on CBC. Hey folks, ever wonder how big Grey Cup week is here in the prairies? Well, it's front and center on everyone's mind. The spirit and hospitality of the Canadian West, they're fit for all ages. Football and Saskatchewan making a perfect pair. So don't be shy. Hey, it's warm. Huddle up in Saskatchewan. It's a perfect setting for football. As heroes in the making come to play for the Cup here at storied Taylor Field in Regina. And a look from the helicopter at downtown Regina, Saskatchewan on this Saturday afternoon. About +4 now downtown. It's +1 here in the northeast corner of Taylor Field, our host location for Grey Cup 95. Still to come, we will talk with the only successful owner in the Canadian Football League, the only successful American owner, that is, Jim Spiros of the Baltimore Stallions will drop by. I mentioned George Reed will be here, Stephen Brunt from the Toronto Globe and Mail. We've got a great feature called The Cat Comes Back. It's about the 9 lives of the Canadian Football League. The CFL seems to be in constant crisis every year at this time. Right now, let's talk a little football. Both teams, Baltimore and Calgary, practiced here earlier today. Let's go out on the field behind me, and we say good afternoon to Steve Armitage. Steve?
Thank you, Brian. They're just putting the finishing touches to Taylor Field, and the conditions right now are absolutely perfect. Pity they weren't playing right now. There's a gentle zephyr of a wind, and it is not cold. As a matter of fact, conditions have been pretty good for both teams as they worked up to Grey Cup Sunday. The Baltimore Stallions took the field this morning for their final workout, and as usual, conditions for the Don Matthews teams were pretty intense. This team has been very focused. They have had some very, very good practices. And we had our cameras here this morning to take a look at the Baltimore Stallions as they went through their final workout. Matthews was in charge, and the team looks very, very sharp. Mike Pringle running, Tracy Ham throwing the ball very effectively. And the Baltimore Stallions, immediately following their final workout, went about 500 yards down the street to autograph for the kids of Saskatchewan. This was a very nice touch on behalf of Don Matthews. He was asked to send 5 players, and he said, no, I'm sending the entire team. And that included the starting quarterback of the Baltimore Stallions, Tracy Ham. So what about that focus?
Being a professional, you understand that the fans are the reason why we're where we're at today. They are part of the game. Saskatchewan has done everything they possibly could to make it a successful week. No complaints. You know, the only problem is that they don't want you to leave, but you have to leave, and you don't want to disappoint anybody, but you're at a stage where you know that the reason why you're here is to win ball games.
And there was time for just one final autograph that made one young Saskatchewan fan very, very happy indeed. And you know, Brian, that's one thing that Don Matthews and the Stallions have done well all week, and that's to court the Saskatchewan football fan, hoping perhaps they'll have them on their side when it counts tomorrow. Back to you, Brian.
All right, Steve, thank you very much. We'll check in with you later in the hour. Today, the first of a two-part series. Part 2 is tomorrow on Countdown. It's called Passion on the Prairies. Let me tell you, people in this province are literally raised with football. It's almost a religion. With Part 1 of Passion on the Prairies, here is Mark Lee.
The Grey Cup is cherished in Saskatchewan in ways the rest of Canada can only imagine. Make a sign, send us your pictures and videotapes, they said. 5,000 participants. The response was both overwhelming and enchanting.
Grey Cup 95 will go down in history.
From Estevan to Prince Albert, Kelvington to North Battleford, they've embraced the game with homemade affection. This is more than a sporting event. Football and the Grey Cup define the culture on the prairies. Where else would a family paint their back deck and unveil it like a masterpiece?
Most of Canada thought that a city as small as Regina couldn't support the Grey Cup. And I think when it's all over this year, they're going to find that it was probably one of the best Grey Cups.
You can't escape the pride. The heartland of Canadian football has waited 83 years for this. And the anticipation is palpable. In this neighborhood, Grey Cup fever is about to get jump-started.
Oh my God, is it going to start?
By a generation the CFL has lost in other parts of Canada. Ride my pride, says the man in the driver's seat. And it's difficult not to be swept away in the emotion. The spirit is infectious. Oh, they said it was too cold in Saskatchewan. And they said this place was too small to hold the Grey Cup. But were they ever wrong? This is just the tonic Canadian football needs.
Everybody's welcome. Please come over. The garage door will be open, so you'll know where to come.
I guess if you look through the stands at every game, you see green and white. And I think it's more of a homecoming. When we come here, we're going to show the rest of the country what we can really do and what we're all about.
And this is what they're all about. Students at Greenall School in Balgony heaving themselves into a pit of latex paint, undaunted by the bitter cold, the howling wind, and a mouthful of whitewash. Rushing to the football field, the place where these people rally. They lie down, head to toe, to spell out the biggest sign of all.
Who better to talk about passion on the prairies than the man that ran for more than 16,000 yards? Canadian Player of the Year, outstanding player in the Canadian Football League in 1965. The great George Reed joins me. Thanks for coming by this afternoon. Explain, if you will, for the country, what those fans mean to this team, and I guess it's important to say what the team means to these fans in this province.
Well, I think it's no question that the fans of this province means everything to the football team, and I think this team, what this team means to the province is that it gives the province a sense of pride. It gives them something that no matter where across Canada they go, that they have something that they can talk about, that they have something that they can brag about. And it's one thing about it, you very, very seldom see a Saskatchewan fan ever change, no matter whether they're in Vancouver, whether they're in Edmonton, no matter where they are. The pride that they have in the green and white is always there. And when the green and white shows up in the town, they come out and support their team.
You won the Shenley Award in 1965 as the outstanding player. You're an American from Washington. You came to this country. You made your home in this country. You live in Calgary. Your reaction, Jim Spiro said yesterday he wants the C out of Canadian. They want a North American Football League. Your reaction to that?
Well, I think that my reaction to it would be it is the Canadian Football League, and I think when you join a league, that's what you are joining. You didn't join with the idea of changing it to the North American Football League. You joined the Canadian Football League. You joined 80 to 90 years of tradition. You're hoping to develop something. And I think if they start worrying about what name that they're going to use and start getting on side with the things that we can do to better the game, I think then we would have a successful in the U.S.
So you don't buy this nonsense about changing the name, throwing away the tradition, and as they suggest in Memphis and Birmingham, get rid of the 3 downs, go to spring football. You don't buy that?
I don't buy that at all. I don't think that the World League was there. 4-down football didn't sell in the spring with the World League, and they had a lot of high-priced help when they first started out and everything. I think that what they have to do is sell the game. I don't think that you could walk into the States and expect it to be an instant success because we haven't did anything to show the people what the game is about. You have to show the people what the game is about. Once you start showing them what the game is about and how you go about it, then people will start warming up and coming to the game.
We just got a couple of seconds. Before we went on the air, you made a great statement to me. You said there's one thing this league has to do in getting its act together.
Well, I think that the league has to get all their business in order before January. I think that our problem with this league has been that we argue about schedules and so forth in May. We forget that we need to have it done so that we can, so that they can start promoting the game in January and everybody knows what we're playing with.
All right, if you don't have your schedule out, you of course look Bush League is what you told me earlier. Let's turn it back to the game on the field behind us tomorrow. You've played here. I'm surprised you don't think wind is going to be a factor tomorrow.
Well, if you're used to being on the prairies, I think wind will be a factor, but I don't think a wind will be as much of a factor at 4:30 as it would have been at 1:30, because if you've ever been on the prairies, it starts dying down around 4 o'clock, and so it will have some effect on the game, but not the same effect that it would have had at 1:30.
Most people picking Calgary. You see Baltimore under certain conditions.
Well, I think the conditions is how is Baltimore going to attack Calgary's 2 great inside receivers. I think if they attack it similar to what Hamilton did, then I think you're going to force Calgary to probably get out of their game plan a little bit and probably provide Baltimore with a better chance of winning. If they leave the 2 great slot backs in the game inside and with Stewart running now, then the edge has to go to Calgary.
Thanks for dropping by, George Reed.
My pleasure.
Hall of Famer, Shenley Award winner, Saskatchewan football legend. Speaking of Saskatchewan football, there's a look at Taylor Field. We'll continue with Sport Check Grey Cup Saturday live from Taylor Field. George, thank you right after this.
One team, one purpose, a year of waiting for Mike Pringle and the Stallions. San Antonio was the final obstacle for a return trip to the Grey Cup. Memorial Stadium was ready to rumble. Baltimore's Tracy Ham took flight to get the Stallions moving. And a quick, swarming defense turned up the heat on the Texans.
Still loose. And the Stallions have it. O.J. Brigance.
The Baltimore ground game, riding on the back of Mike Pringle, established field position.
Mike Pringle on the carry. Ham's pass incomplete.
A phrase worth repeating 5 times.
Here's the rush.
More Stallions defensive pressure.
And there's Grant Carter again.
As Pringle dazzled in the muck, rolling up 136 yards. And Huerta's foot dented the record book.
One more time, and we're going to win that stuff this time, baby. We're going to Regina, baby. We'll see you in Regina. Here we go, Saskatchewan. Huddle up, baby.
Dedication delivered. Baltimore's back.
Baltimore is back indeed. It is one thing to get to the Grey Cup. It is quite another thing, as Don Matthews knows very well, to win the Grey Cup. The pressure, no question, is squarely on the shoulders of Baltimore quarterback Tracy Ham. With another look at Tracy Ham, once again, we check in with CBC's Steve Armitage.
Baltimore is back in the Grey Cup, thanks to a ground attack built on the legs of Mike Pringle, the CFL's most outstanding player, and the powerful offensive line, which cleared the way for Pringle to roll up the most yards in rushing for the second straight season. They are a force.
An offensive line is really a team within a team. I mean, there's 5 of us, so we all have to be on the same page.
The Stampeders took a page out of the How to Play Perfect Defense book in blunting the effectiveness of the Eskimos' Eric Blunt. They hope to be equally successful against Baltimore's Pringle. But Calgary must also deal with the running abilities of Tracy Ham, who twice has topped 1,000 yards rushing. Ham, though, must shake off previous inconsistent showings in the Grey Cup. In 1990, as an Eskimo, Ham tossed 3 interceptions to Winnipeg as the Blue Bombers romped. Last year, he fumbled on the goal line late in the 4th quarter against BC, and the Stallions lost by a field goal. Ham's coach, Don Matthews, retains faith in his veteran quarterback.
I look at Tracy Ham just like I look at everyone else. He's gotten us here with a 15-3 record and won the first playoff game. And I guess I don't really take a lot of stock in the media hype.
Thanks to explosive special teams play led by Rookie of the Year runner-up Chris Wright, the Stallions often operate with great field position. That's allowed Ham the chance to be more selective in his passing, and his stats aren't as impressive as in the past. Ham's adjusted his outlook.
You know, so many people say I haven't been able to win the big one. I hadn't been able to win the Grey Cup, but you know, the joy of getting there is a lot of fun. Now, for me, getting there is not the ultimate. Now getting there and winning it.
Talent and resolve are often decisive factors when a goal is within reach.
One of the best linebackers to ever play in this league, the great Edmonton linebacker, Dan Kepley, joins me in the studio here this afternoon. You'll call the game with Don Whitman tomorrow afternoon. We have a series both today and again in Countdown tomorrow called Kepley's Keys, and I guess there is one obvious place to start when you talk about the Baltimore Stallions.
Well, Brian, it really is, and I think at Baltimore and also with Calgary, the key to any one of those teams winning the Grey Cup is going to be in the offensive line. Whoever wins the battle up front has the best opportunity to take the cup home.
Well, I'm looking forward to Kepley's Keys. The offensive line is where we start, the first of Dan Kepley's Keys to the Game.
When it comes to championship games at this time of year, the battle will be won in the trenches, and tomorrow's game is no exception. The offensive line that can win at the point of attack, the line of scrimmage, will accomplish 2 major goals. The most important, protection of their quarterback. The second, open holes for the rushing game. The Baltimore offensive line across the board will have their hands full, but the problems are easily recognized. Look for red jerseys that end in number 1. 81, Will Johnson, 91, Marvin Pope, 41, Anthony McClanahan, and last but not least, number 51, Alondra Johnson. In today's new math, if the Stallions can get those 4 ones to add to 0, points will be put on the board by the Baltimore Stallions. Calgary's offensive line is coming off their best, but more importantly, their most aggressive 60 minutes of football versus the Edmonton Eskimos. A command performance is required for tomorrow's game. Jamie Crysdale is a key element to this equation. If he can handle the one-on-one push up the middle by Gerald Bayless, that will give Bobby Pandelides and Denny Chronopoulos the opportunity to check inside, first for Maxey, and then help outside on 2 great speed rushers of Baltimore, Peyton, number 56, and Carter, number 54. No matter how you dress this up, the offensive line that dominates, that team wins the Grey Cup.
Thank you, Dan. Dan Kepley with Kepley's Keys. More keys coming up later this afternoon. Right now, let's go back upstairs. Scott Oak and James Curry.
All right, Brian, and James Curry's a man who knows all about getting around offensive linemen. He was the worst nightmare for a lot of CFL quarterbacks in his heyday as a defensive lineman in this league. James, the strength of the Baltimore O-line is plain to see in Mike Pringle's 1,700 yards plus rushing. When he goes for 100 yards a game, the Stallions win. It's as simple as that. So it's obvious that Calgary must win that battle tomorrow.
Really, you know, when you look at it, you got the best run offense in the entire CFL versus the best run defense in the CFL. And so it's really going to be a huge challenge for Calgary tomorrow, facing this huge offense offensive line. They have to get to the point of attack and evade those blockers.
Now, what about Calgary's offensive line? Do you agree that that's a unit that's vastly underrated?
I really think it is. Everyone has talked about Doug Flutie and his ability to play in this offense, but you have to look at Jeff Garcia. When he came in and took over this offense, it really didn't miss a beat. So you really have to look at the offensive line for Calgary as being the hub of this team.
Now, James Kep has already made the point the battle tomorrow is going to be won in the trenches. I'm sure you agree. So now let's have you unburden yourself and tell us who's got the edge. Is it the Calgary O-line or the Baltimore O-line?
Well, when you look at a total edge, I think you really have to give it to Baltimore with the size and the experience that they have as a unit. Really, this is their second year being together, and they really get to the point of attack and they dominate opposing defenses by that 50-pound advantage that they possess.
So having said that, you won't be surprised if Mike Pringle goes for 100 tomorrow?
I think it's a given that Mike Pringle goes for 100. What you have to do is avoid what Baltimore can do when Mike Pringle doesn't have the football.
All right, James, thank you. Back to you, Brian.
All right, thank you, Scott. Still to come this afternoon, we'll talk live with the owner of the Baltimore Stallions, Jim Spiros. Right now, let's go about 30 yards down to my right, and once again, Steve Armitage. Steve?
Thank you, Brian. Getting just a little cooler. Remember, last year's game was decided by the talented toe of Louis Pasaglia, when he kicked that game-winning field goal for the BC Lions over the Baltimore no-names. Now it's the Baltimore Stallions, and handling the kicking chores for Baltimore will be Carlos Huerta. After practice this morning, I asked him how he planned to handle the wind here at Taylor Field.
No real special plans, just hopefully get good plants and get lucky gusts of wind that'll blow my ball the right direction.
How does the cold weather affect your kicking?
I think it would reduce the distance of my kicks, being that the ball becomes harder and the foot doesn't get into it as well as normal. So it'll probably cut it down quite a bit. I've seen a little bit of a difference, but I've practiced a lot and I'm feeling better and better in it.
Huerta kicks for the Stallions, and Mark McLaughlin does the same for the Calgary Stampeders. Two gentlemen with very, very talented toes. They can do the job for both of their teams. Brian?
Thank you, Steve. As we go to commercial here at Taylor Field in Regina on this sunny Saturday afternoon, here is another Sport Check event pass as we celebrate the 1995 Grey Cup here in Regina.
The most important thing to a punter is drop.
Just have skates on the field this morning, or?
We ain't gonna know it. We got so much weight on it.
From the helicopter, that is a CFL field carved into the snow. I tell you what, there's no snow inside Taylor Field. It's more like Baltimore. The Stallions owner, Jim Spiro, with this weather. Jim Spiros feels right at home. The only successful American owner in the Canadian Football League, Jim Spiros, joins us. Expansion's been a disaster in Sacramento, San Antonio, Las Vegas. I can go on and on. Why has it been successful in Baltimore and New Orleans?
Well, I tell you what, we've made a tremendous effort. I've been very fortunate that the first move I made was to hire a head coach in Don Matthews who had experience and understood the game. That one move helped educate the media in Baltimore, helped educate the people about the game. He sold it, and he helped us develop a championship caliber football club from day one. The commitment of putting a winning product on the field certainly was a big advantage to our football organization.
Let's get to the heart of the matter. I know Canadians want to hear this afternoon. You were candid, you were honest yesterday. You want to change the name. You don't want the Canadian Football League in the United States. To me, that destroys 100 years of tradition. The people that'll be here tomorrow won't buy it, and you throw it away. You become a semi-pro league for the NFL, like the World Football League was. Why do you want to change the name?
Well, I tell you what, I think it's important that the American fans feel they have some type of ownership and that they're involved with this league. Being the Canadian Football League, as far as media in the United States, basically puts us behind NCAA football. It puts us behind college football, and we fall off the map in a sense because...
But you knew this when you came into the league, that it was called the Canadian Football League.
Well, I did know that, but the fact is, when you've got teams in the United States in the league, it seems only fair. I mean, I've spent a lot of money, and I feel as a partner, I should be heard and I should have ownership in this league. Ownership means you're playing in a league with not only Canadians, but also Americans. There's more American players in the league, and you're playing in cities in the United States. For us to market to 250 Americans, they're not going to buy a league called the Canadian Football League. It's got to be a league that represents North America. And what I envision is the league being the Canadian football division with the Canadian teams of 8 teams, a U.S. division under one umbrella called the North American Football League. I think the core of the history of the CFL and what has transpired in 100 years, that's very valuable. You can't get that in a startup league. But what I think has to happen, we've got to market it better. I think the name will give people the feeling that this is a new, the league has changed. The problem is the United States, a lot of people don't even know we're playing football in the United States.
But that's not the Canadian Football League's problem. You knew this when you went into the CFL. Let me ask you, when you have your meeting with Larry Smith, will you ask for 4 downs? Will you ask for spring football? Will you back the other American owners? I mean, Memphis and Birmingham aren't even here. That's how much they care. What do you see happening?
Well, what I see happening, first of all, is there'll be no rule changes. The rules are very important. We keep them just the way they are. I mean, we can't play 4 downs and 11 guys on this type of field. You may have 80 points scored in a game. It'll tamper with the game, okay? That cannot happen, and I'm against that 100%. What I'm for, though, is that you've got to have, there's venues in the United States that we could be getting ourselves into that can only accommodate maybe 15-yard end zones, possibly 100-yard fields. I think we can maybe alter the size of fields. Width, almost in every venue we can work with, but the length, if we can adjust that, we could be in 6 or 7 more venues in different markets in the country.
Just a couple of seconds, quick answers. Is Larry Smith playing a game of chicken with the American owners when he threatens to pull back into Canada?
I don't know if he is or not. I just think it's important that we all stick together as one. I think we have gone through 3 tough years. I think there's light at the end of the tunnel now, and it's better now that we stick together and not break off. I'm not in favor of that at all.
So you want a name change, but you want the rules to remain as they are?
Absolutely.
All right, I sympathize with your position down there. It is tough to sell the game in many ways. We're going to disagree, but I must congratulate you on a tremendous job. I was in Baltimore last Sunday afternoon, and the Stallion Fever was amazing. I have to ask you this, though. You're going to Houston, you're going to Cleveland, you're going to stay in Baltimore?
Well, we'd like to stay in Baltimore. We think our fans and the people will support our product in Baltimore, but I've got to get support of the local government officials. The governor, the mayor have got to say, Jim, we're behind you and we're going to support you. And if there is any downfalls, that we're going to be there to help you financially, because they've brought the NFL into Baltimore, and now I've got to split hairs as far as getting corporate sponsorship and fans. I'm willing to stay if they'll give me some type of guarantees.
All right, we disagree on Canadian. I think it should always be the Canadian Football League, but you are certainly the only successful American owner, and again, congratulations on getting here.
Thank you very much.
Jim Spiros, who is the owner of the Baltimore Stallions, joining us here at Taylor Field this afternoon. Stay with us, still to come, Stephen Brunt of the Toronto Globe and Mail, and a whole lot more as Sport Check Grey Cup Saturday continues from Taylor Field here in Regina. Jim, thank you.
We got a report. Go, Bombers, go! Huskies! We're from Edmonton, we're going from Calgary. Hey, guys, how you doing? Winnipeg! Hey, we're missing a great time. Wish you could be here. Yes, sir. Bombers. Hey, Calgary all the way.
There is the Westcam and North Central helicopter providing these great pictures of Taylor Field. A spectacular shot thanks to pilot Dave Tomasini, Westcam operator Gary Childs. Hey, fellas, remember we worked the opening of Skydome back in Toronto? The day it rained, the day they opened the roof, we had the helicopter coming in over the harbor. Great work by Dave Tomasini and Gary Childs as they bring us back to our booth, the northeast corner here at Taylor Field, Regina, on this Saturday afternoon. If you're just joining us, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Williams. Welcome back to Regina. Continuing coverage, Sport Check Grey Cup Saturday. Still to come, the Cat comes back. The 9 lives of the Canadian Football League. It keeps going from crisis to crisis, but keeps surviving. We will have a feature on that. We will talk with Stephen Brunt, the highly respected columnist with the Toronto Globe and Mail. But right now, let's have a look and see how the Calgary Stampeders advance to this 95 Grey Cup final.
Doug Flutie, alone with his thoughts. It's been 2 years since that painful playoff loss to Edmonton, and there's tension at McMahon Stadium.
Flutie gives to Stewart, touchdown.
But the angst quickly dissipates.
Good job, hey, it's a hell of a drive. 7 outside the block,
It is good. Flutie sounds the bugle. Leading a charge the Eskimos are helpless to stop.
Flutie looks into the end zone,
touchdown. Dave Sapunjas just inside the goal line.
On the Edmonton bench, players are humbled by the beating. And Flutie's not done yet.
Flutie gives the ball to Stewart for the touchdown.
Things have been too easy on offense for us, right? So now you just keep playing defense, right?
Look out. Whoa, he is buried by Big Daddy Marvin Pope.
The Eskimos can run, but they can't hide.
Grey Cup time, baby. We're going.
We're going to Big Dance, baby. You know, he had a rough week last week, came back and proved he's still the man. Way to go, Swiggy.
Sweet vindication for Doug Flutie.
Well, you see behind me, the sun is setting just after 4:30 here in Saskatchewan. At the start of the season, quite frankly, Calgary without Doug Flutie was unthinkable, but the unthinkable did happen when Flutie went down with injury. With more on the Calgary quarterbacking situation, once again, here is Mark Lee.
Doug Flutie can do it all. He's won a Grey Cup, scrambled and passed his way to 4 Outstanding Player Awards. But at the age of 33, he's in the midst of a new experience, recovering from the physical and mental pain of a major elbow injury.
I was very dejected, very frustrated at the point when I had surgery, thought the season was over, and thought I'd have to wait another year and a half to try to win a Grey Cup again.
In Flutie's absence, Jeff Garcia stepped up without missing a beat, winning 8 of 9 starts, locking up first place, and a place in the hearts of family, friends, and teammates.
When Jeff came in, he brought in a lot of excitement. He brought in a great attitude. His intensity was fantastic. He was like a young kid playing football.
I think that Doug really does get a lot of the exposure just because of how great a player he is. But I think when I came in, it definitely brought some of the attention to the other guys, and they really did step up a notch.
Flutie returned as the playoffs began, but struggled against Hamilton. Garcia would rescue victory and relief, while Flutie heard from the fickle fans.
Doug's a 4-time MVP of the league, and, you know, there's nothing really that I can do to push him aside.
A week later, the old Flutie returned, in control. Only one can start, the other must wait.
I've been here for 4 years, and we've been through a lot together. And my feeling is, yes, this is my team, but I have no qualms when Jeff's in there. And I said it going into the playoffs. This is going to take the 2 of us to get through these playoffs.
I mean, I'm a competitor too, and I want to be out on the field. And I had so much fun when I was able to play, and it was very exciting being out there. And it's something that it came quickly and it was taken away quickly.
All right, Whip, put to rest all of this kind of talk that Doug Flutie does not have the arm strength anymore.
Dan Kepley was with us here in the booth a couple of minutes ago. We had the first of the Kepley Keys, a look at the Baltimore offensive line. Right now, the second installment of Dan Kepley's Keys. We take a look at the Calgary receivers and the Baltimore secondary.
It's not a well-kept secret, but Calgary and Doug Flutie are going to throw the football, and he has a lot of weapons that can get the job done. Number 25, Dave Sapunjas, and number 18, Alan Pitts, 2 receivers that caught over 100 passes each in '95. Sponge is great at reading the zones and sitting down in the open area. On the other hand, Alan Pitts at 6'4" is physical with speed that likes to go one-on-one. It's a great challenge for the halfbacks of the Baltimore Stallions, Anthony, number 9, and Watson, number 33. On the outside, Tyrone Williams is big, 6'5", that can get off the jams at the line of scrimmage and make something happen down the field. So if Kraft, the corner, number 17, or Smith on the other side, number 21, decide to come up and press him and give him a jam, you better not miss, or number 83, Ty Williams, will take it to the house. And if that's not enough to worry about, don't forget the 6-pack, and I don't mean the cool ones in the fridge. Number 88, Vince Danielson, the 6th receiver. If Baltimore can't handle this 6-pack, it could be a long day at the office.
Hey, look at the Calgary receivers in the Baltimore secondary. We've sent cameraman Jim Nielsen outside. Jimmy, let's pan up behind me to the play-by-play booth where we will be tomorrow afternoon with Don Whitman and Dan Kepley. Let's go up now and join Scott Oake and James Curry way up in the east, or I guess that's the west grandstand, Scott.
And it is, Brian, and where James and I are very comfortable. Window open, gorgeous day here at Taylor Field. James' prevailing opinion is that the Baltimore secondary is not as strong as it was a year ago. It has everything to do with injuries and an extraordinarily high number of changes. Does this tilt the matchup tomorrow in favor of the Calgary receivers?
Well, early in the year, you might have given a total advantage to Calgary in this situation, but Baltimore's defense has really rounded out since Douglas Kraft's arrival in the secondary, and they're a solid unit once again.
James, last week in the North Final, it looked ever so much like the Edmonton secondary just could not cover Pitts, Sapunjas, and the rest of the Stampeder receivers. Can the Stamps make it look that easy tomorrow?
Well, I don't know. I think Edmonton was mystified by Doug Flutie's response last week after the previous week showing against Hamilton, the way he was able to come out, have that 14-play drive, and that really put a stake in Edmonton's heart early.
Who has the prospect of having a big day amongst the Stampeder receivers tomorrow, do you think?
Well, everybody looks at Pitts and Sapunjas, and those are two great outstanding receivers, but I think Vince Danielson might be the unsung hero. I think the young slot back will come in and have 4 or 5 first down receptions that will make a big difference in the ball game.
Yeah, Vince Danielson, second-year receiver out of UBC, and he is a major factor, as you say, or can be, in the Calgary six-pack. James, off topic here for a second. We've talked a lot today about the wind and everybody's fear that it could be howling at Taylor Field tomorrow, but you've played here, you know how windy it can be, and you've made an interesting point about what it might be tomorrow.
Well, I think over the years, people who have witnessed games at Taylor Field have seen the howling wind that has gone down through the stadium. But if you look outside now and you look at Taylor Field, this is an enclosed stadium for once here at Taylor Field in Saskatchewan, so the wind won't be a major factor coming down through the middle of the field because you'll have fans at both ends of the stadiums. You have a lot of wind breakage tomorrow.
Yeah, 2 huge wind breaks at either end of the field, so the ones that'll suffer from the wind more than the players could be the fans. James, what about field conditions tomorrow? It's perfectly clear out there now. Could be a good grip on the field for all the players.
I think you're going to have a fast track. They've done a marvelous job in maintaining the surface here at Taylor Field. Don't let the elements be the major factor in the game tomorrow. The players are just going to go out and determine this on their own.
One final comment on the elements. When you look out there now and you see it's perfectly clear, there's not a cloud in the sky, it's hard to imagine the weather that's been forecast for tomorrow, about 10 below and 40-kilometer-an-hour winds, would be a reality.
It could be a reality, but I don't think it'll arrive. It's not a cloud in the sky, and I don't think they can show up that fast. We're not in BC where it would rain all the time. But it's going to be a great afternoon for football, and I think everyone, as well as myself, is looking forward to it tomorrow here in Regina, Saskatchewan.
All right, I think we've said quite enough about the weather. Brian, back to you.
Well, George Reed, earlier talking about the weather, Scott, said, remember, if you know Saskatchewan, the winds die down in Regina later in the day. And, of course, kickoff is 4:32 local time here this afternoon. Before checking in with Steve Armitage, let me give you the university scores this afternoon. The Western Ontario Mustangs have defeated the Acadia Axemen. That game played, high-scoring game, played out in Halifax. Western at 1 point leading, 21-0 in the first quarter. And a game played in Calgary this afternoon. The Dinosaurs over the GGs, 37-7. So the numbers 1 and 2 teams in the country, the Western Ontario Mustangs and the University of Calgary Dinosaurs, in the College Bowl, the Vanier Cup, next Saturday at Skydome in Toronto. Speaking of university football, down behind me, standing on the field here at Taylor Field, the former quarterback for the St. Mary's Huskies, and he knows a lot about throwing footballs in the wind, Steve Armitage. Steve?
In order to throw a ball properly in the wind, it really is an art, and it is an art that I never did master. Bob Hayes, the coach of St. Mary's Huskies, will tell you that. I think it's going to be a problem for Tracy Ham and Doug Flutie, especially with Flutie's tender elbow. And to find out just how well Flutie was throwing the ball in practice and whether he can handle the cold and the wind tomorrow, we spoke to Dave Sapunjas, the Canadian Player of the Year.
I don't think so. I think especially the type of patterns that I run, it's not necessarily deep balls. But no, Doug proved last week that his arm is so strong. If we have a big wind, you know, we might change the game plan a little and use it to our advantage when it's behind us, and when it's in front of us, maybe we'll run the ball a little more. But hey, I have all the confidence in the world with Flutie.
Dave Sapunjas, one of the favorite targets for Doug Flutie tomorrow, and I think that'll be one of the early keys in the game, just how well Doug Flutie and Tracy Ham handle the wind here at Taylor Field. George Reed said it drops off at 4 o'clock. George, it has just picked up. Brian, back to you.